Sienna, God, hello, all. Oshta, Sahiya, good evening, and Wada, thank you for watching. So this is day 11 of reading Lone Wolf Alpha Squad Copy Over by James Rink. And this is his story. If you feel you are ready to deprogram monarch-style programming, then you will need to get creative and place the individual under a hypnotic trance and have them look for open doorways and hallways in their mind. This process doesn't have to be based on logic because the subconscious mind is not restricted to our perceptions of reality. For example, you can ask the core to telepathically read the minds of others to find clues. Once inside the core, the next step is to remove the walls surrounding each altar. These walls were initially placed to prevent other altars from remembering what the other parts know. To remove these walls, ask the core to create a high-powered laser and use it to burn a hole into the wall. Once through, you may want to ask the core to use this laser and destroy any wires or hardware located at the back of the neck. This may help disable the primary control implant. And don't forget about locating and disabling any fail-safe mechanisms. At this point, if you're lucky, the altar will begin to reintegrate with the main personality. The way you'll know is if you have succeeded is if the main personality begins to remember the initial trauma. This is a necessary first step to bring reintegration. At this point, you may try to gain some insight at who was involved in the abuse. Sometimes they will remember the name of the doctor involved. To find the name, ask in the form of a question such as, if there was a doctor associated with this programming and his name was a color, like Dr. Chartreuse or something, what color would the color be? At this stage, it's important to convince the core to use any destructive programming for a different beneficial purpose, such as self-defense purposes only. Efforts should be made to decrease the victim's desire for revenge. Instead, this energy should be channeled into recovery solutions. As the person begins to recover traumatic memories, love and patience will be required to assist in the healing process. Have them try to focus on what they do remember. Perhaps it's a face they recognize, or a name or place. This is a good place to start. One of the biggest problems in this step is an abusive handler sabotaging any healing. A victim may need to be removed from the situation before they can make any serious progress. Remember, these handlers are placed in a monarch's life to ensure they remain traumatized, abused, and triggered. These handlers may be someone the person lives with or loves, such as a family member. It is possible that a handler may not even realize what they are doing, so please don't be angry with them. If this is the case, then an effort will be needed to break off all contact until integration is successful. Healing may take a lifetime, or at least until an act of God forces the covert government into releasing these technologies into the public forum. So please be patient, don't give up, and keep learning. The best way to combat mind control is awareness of when we are being manipulated. That's what I'm trying to do. By seeking the truth, I want to know when, where, and how are we being manipulated. Montauk programming. Once the nuts and bolts of Monarch programming were mastered, it was applied with precise precision in Project Montauk. These experiments took place in an underground facility in Montauk Point, New York. Using a chair which could manipulate conscious energy, they could time travel, manipulate matter, and of course mind control unwitting souls. The chair was originally a navigator seat that was recovered from a crashed flying saucer disc. This chair contained a telepathic link with the alien occupants, allowing them to control the vessel using their minds. Using interdimensional physics, they could cloak themselves and travel at blazing fast speeds. This alien navigator chair was relocated at the underground facilities below Camp Hero State Park in Montauk Point, New York. Sometime around the 1960s, the Greys and Sirius extraterrestrials joined. Sirius is spelled S-I-R-I-U-S. Extraterrestrials joined in the project as advisors and helped the military retrofit the technology for human operation. Using Wilhelm Reich sexual programming techniques and Nikola Tesla's research into scalar physics, technicians would place brainwashed psychic operatives in the chair, who then proceeded to open portals punched into hyperspace. I wonder if those species knew what they were getting into. Like, I wonder if they thought, oh, they're going to do this for good or whatever. Or, and then they just did nefarious things with it. Project handlers would then send victims as guinea pigs into hyperspace until they reached their destination in another time or another place. It was this research which opened up new avenues of total robotic mind control. When victims were exposed to hyperspace, their minds would become a blank slate and easily programmable. Okay. According to Montauk survivor Preston Nichols, Nichols, over 300,000 boys were abducted off the streets of New York, brainwashed, and sent down the Montauk time tunnels, most of which did not make it back alive. Those that survived had their memories wiped, and sadly, the majority of these folks are either still living with their parents, assisted living facilities, on disability, or in mental hospitals. Oh my God. Supposedly, the project was shut down in 1981, but the project appears to have been reopened, possibly at a different location. It has since gone through several incarnations from the original Montauk Project 1.0 to its current designation as Montauk Project 4.0, but this was only the beginning of how far mind control technology has advanced. Now here's a photo, and it says AN/FPS-35 radar at Camp Hero State Park at Montauk Point, New York. The time travel experiment allegedly took place underneath this facility. This is what it looks like. It's a big O transmitter something. Radar doohickey thing. Anyway, Greada Treaty. This is where the extraterrestrials come into the mix, and Greada is spelled Greada. Alarmed at the detonation of the first nuclear bomb, the extraterrestrials began a series of secret meetings with the United States government, beginning with the Eisenhower administration in exchange for discontinuing the use of nuclear weapons. The ETs wanted to provide us with research and technology to prevent a global holocaust and to heal our planet and help remove the negative Greys, Draco, and reptilians infesting the underground strongholds and SSP programs. In 1954, at Holloman, Holloman Air Force Base, President Eisenhower, MJ-12, and the Ultra unit of the NSA meet with large-nosed grays from the red star in the constellation of Orion, known as Betelgeuse. Really? Huh. And it's Betelgeuse. They signed the Greada Treaty, which was intended to foster mutual cooperation of both species. The aliens would be given permission to abduct humans on a limited basis for study and genetic manipulation. What? In exchange, the aliens would share their technology to help humanity. A site was chosen for this program and construction of 2 underground bases at the Four Corners area of Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, Yeah, I know my maps. New Mexico and Arizona began. These ET and government technology exchanges opened up new avenues of research into genetic engineering, cloning implants, lasers, holograms, and mind control. Though estimates vary according to the now deceased whistleblower Phil Schneider, the government is now approximately 2,200 years more technologically advanced than the general public sector. Think about that, right? The truth is that the ETs have been coming here for millions of years, performing genetic experiments to mold humanity into their own image. You can see traces of this in various psychic bloodlines around the world, for example, Celtic and Native American, which may explain why they are more persecuted. Every now and then, the aliens may genetically tinker with these bloodlines, creating super psychic alien-human hybrids known as starseeds, indigos, crystals, and ELAH, evolutionary level above human. They could perform astonishing feats such as teleportation, telekinesis, dematerialization, object manifestation, superhuman strength, and mind control. These hybrid children may have the same psychic abilities of their extraterrestrial star parents, but maintain a more human appearance, allowing them to be accepted by their human host family. Now, all of us have latent psychic abilities to a certain extent, but due to split brain consciousnesses at the time of Atlantis, most of us lost these gifts. Modern science teaches us that we use only 2% of our brain at any particular moment in time, but if you could activate dormant DNA codons, CODONS, then it's possible to use as much as 100% of our brain power, accomplishing amazing feats such as the ancient gods of antiquity and accomplished yogis and Buddhist monks have done. Remember, holograms contain an image of the whole, in this case, the universe, but only a tiny fragment is represented in this 3D reality. This is why scientists believe we have so much junk DNA. All this junk is in fact a blueprint to recreate anything in the universe. Because of the crystalline structures within our DNA can connect micro wormholes into other dimensions, allowing us to tap into genetic blueprints of anyone or anything we choose to be. We do this naturally all the time using our thoughts, feelings, and actions. New thought patterns can change how your aura appears. This information in turn alters your ether, E-T-H-E-R, DNA, which overlays with your physical DNA. In time, the codons change arrangements, mutating genes and phenotype abilities that come from them. The process of thoughts manifesting into reality is known as morphogenesis. This is just one way to mutate your DNA. Obviously, the extraterrestrials have been doing this for millions of years So it says this for millions of years and are much more skilled at it. All you have to do is just look at the biological diversity on this planet and you can appreciate the remarkable work. Most alien abductions are not as horrific as Hollywood has portrayed them to be. Most are performed under the most probably humane, but it says human conditions possible. But the government was naturally a bit paranoid of these visitors. And here's the picture that they had of kids doing various things. So the Greada Treaty dictated that the Greys would give a list of people they were abducting so that the government could keep track of what was going on, but this created a lot of problems. Some of the technology that was exchanged was backward engineered for teleportation and mind control purposes. The very technology the aliens used to abduct humans was now in the hands of the Cabal. The aliens never really trusted the Cabal, nor were they very forthcoming about their true intention, which seems to be the genetic recreation of humanity in their image. To figure out what the aliens were up to, military began abducting contactees that were on the list provided by the aliens. Of course they did. These contactees would then be harassed, interrogated, and intimidated, often under monarch-style torture programming. It was at this point that things deteriorated and the aliens stopped sharing their list of people, but kept the abductions going to save themselves from these now out-of-control military abductions. In the research community, this is known as a MILAB, or military abduction. When the aliens realized the government had no intentions of releasing any other technology to the public sector, they gave up any hopes of meaningful first contact through the government and instead began contacting regular individuals, usually contactees from the respective star nations. They were given modifications, making them immune to the mind control apparatus set up on planet Earth, and they would be given lessons on the starships so that they could educate humanity when the masses were ready to hear the truth. These folks are now slowly introducing the public to the idea of what first contact may be like, but progress is slow. If humanity doesn't wake up, soon they will be led to slaughter. In part of the original technology transfers, the aliens allowed the Cabal to access time travel technologies which warned them of future cataclysms if they continued on a path of self-destruction. DUMBS, D-U-M-B-S. Instead of choosing to free humanity and save the planet, the Cabal chose, it says the Cabal chose to maintain their power and continue the slave grid status quo. To maintain their power base, the Cabal tasked the Department of the Navy to begin construction of deep underground military bases, also known as DUMBs, in the hopes they could weather the cataclysms that they created in grace and comfort, and to have a base in which they could run secretive programs to manipulate the masses. These bases are ground zero for research and development in specialized fields of the military-industrial complex, mind control programming centers, and they serve as a shelter for the elite when their planned surface holocaust takes place. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. Don't have to go hang, you can get till we meet again. Love you, Mina.